Welcome to the Torque and Horsepower Podcast. I'm your co-host, Eric Herbert.
And I'm your co-host, Alex Stursa. We got Cali Dan in the studio today.
Howdy. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, especially short notice.
My pleasure.
If you trick people into agreeing to things before you tell them what it's for, that's how you do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
What the hell am I here for?
Yeah. I was like, hey, are you busy tomorrow morning? He's like, no, what you got going on? I was like, hey, would you mind coming to Reno with me? And he's like, yeah, not a problem. What are we doing? I was like, oh, we're on a podcast. And he's like, fuck. Okay. I was like, you already said yeah, so you have to be there now.
Yep. Here we are.
Here we are. So Dan is my buddy, next door neighbor. Recent, how long you been there? 2 years?
California transplant.
Been
here coming on 3 years.
3 years.
Spent the last 30 years in North Bay area in California, originally from Lancaster, California, another high desert in Mojave. So very similar geographically out here. So I'm comfortable here. My wife's from one horse town in Central California, Willows, near Chico. So
next to the cool USA.
Yeah, exactly. So we're both very comfortable here.
Good.
Having a good time.
We're stoked to have you here. Definitely a new friend, but made good friends real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's nice. Our wives hang out and they get along, so that makes a big difference. And Cali Dan and I cruise around on dirt bikes, fuck around with engines, do all kinds of shit.
All kinds of shit.
Yep.
So you're a gunny and a hot rodder.
Yeah. Grew up.
And a Ford guy.
And a Ford guy. Yeah.
I'm outnumbered again.
Yeah. Yeah. Was a Mopar guy. Kind of converted over to the Ford scene, but yeah, grew up riding dirt bikes in the Bay Area for years and years, and as we all do, that's pretty entry level stuff for everybody. Ride it, break it, rebuild it, repeat kind of stuff. So a lot of experience playing with dirt bikes and tearing down two-stroke motors and doing all that fun stuff. Never really got into the racing bracket out in the North Bay, just leisure riding and doing a lot of technical single track and hill climb stuff, and then came out here, and the lay of the land is a lot different. So still getting used to riding a lot of desert and different terrain and stuff like that. But me and Al have been racing the VC Grand Prix for the past few years. So
cruising around the Pine Nuts, doing some single track up there.
Yep. So having a blast doing that. We're actually coming up on another race here pretty soon.
Yeah, it's not
already.
That far off. Yeah, springtime.
Need to get some more riding, and we're both super busy with work and family, so we don't ride as much as we'd like to these days. But we'll get after it. Leisure riding or not, come race day, we'll be ready to go and go out and do it.
So what bikes do you guys like?
I'm a Cowie guy. I've always been a Cowie guy. I started out on Hondas, but my dad was a Yamaha guy, got into Kawasaki's, and I just kind of followed suit there, just riding his bikes. And I've been a Cowie guy ever since. So I ride an older, it's a 99 KX 250. It's kind of heavy, but it's something that my dad had a 99. I grew up riding it when I went from an 80 to a 250. So it's just something that I'm comfortable with, and I've been riding forever. And
she's cherry though.
Yeah, it's nice. I keep it clean. Throw parts at it, and I'm comfortable working on it and all that good stuff. But there's a lot to be said for the newer bikes that are coming out. They're just so much more comfortable, a lot lighter, just a lot more rider friendly. I feel like I'm having to muscle around a race bike on a lot of the terrain that we're working, but it's what I grew up riding, and I'm still happy to ride it. Got my wife a 08 KLX 300 4-stroke.
The tractor.
Yeah, it's a tractor.
Yeah.
And I actually rode that at VC Grand Prix last year, and it was a dream. It was a far cry from riding my race bike. So probably be riding that again here coming up. But yeah, just
have you ridden on any of the new fuel injected cylinder forward 450s?
Ridden Al's bike, his Yamaha. That's a GYTR.
Yeah, and it's a 17 or 18 450. It's fuel injected, has a opposed or reverse cylinder on it. So exhaust comes out the back, intake's on the front.
Badass bike.
Yeah, fuel injected. It's a fun bike. That's my first 4-stroke. I've always been a 2-stroke guy, which I'm going to go back to a 2-stroke. I'll get one eventually. But my kids got into riding, so I've been buying just bike after bike after bike for those kids because
it's a neck snapper for sure.
It is, yeah. But I definitely want to go back to a 2-stroke for my desert bike, single track bike, and then I'll leave my 450 for my moto track.
That's
Big
something
difference.
I noticed was the power difference, usable power difference on
Yeah.
the new 450. Because I haven't had a 2-stroke since college. I had a Mako 250, and that was a hunk of shit for
Right.
sure.
They're a cool idea, but the bike itself fucking
Oh,
is
man.
junk. Yeah.
And then like Yamaha 426, that was my favorite bike for a long time. I had a 400 that had a more usable power, but just not as much.
Right.
And then my last bike was brand new, 450 with the cylinder forward, exhaust out the back. Scary because
Right.
it would wheelie almost in any gear off the bottom. And I thought I was going to get hurt. Tried to get my wife into riding because she wants to try everything once and
I've been there.
maybe twice. So we got her a trail, a TTR 225.
Yeah, they're good bikes, dude.
It was too big. She couldn't touch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, try taking that back the day after Christmas to the dealership.
Right.
He's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "It's used now." I'm like, "No, she couldn't use it because she can't touch." So we got a trail 110.
Yeah.
And she rode that pretty good and was getting into it, and she was super comfortable. And then we went camping out in Bishop, and we did a silt trail.
Yeah.
And after she put the bike down about 7 times.
Oh yeah.
I was riding the Raptor 4-wheeler, and she's like, "I'm done. You can leave the bike here. I don't care. I'm riding the 4-wheeler back." And so we don't have toys like that anymore.
Cali Dan's wife rides. She puts it down. She does a good job on that 300.
Yeah, it's been a little while. It's just busy with we both work full time and we're chasing around a toddler. So weekend rolls around and we're pretty maxed out, but we try to get out as much as we can. Honestly, it's been a while. It's been too long. So we're overdue. She's been chomping at the bit to get out and go riding. It's just one of those things where do we have a spare hour in our day on our weekend, which is supposed to be our downtime, to go get a ride in, and we can go right out from our garage into the backyard. And that's how tough it is these days. But
I did get the wife. If you ask my kids, I bought it for her. So we have a TTR 125 or 110.
her bike.
It's her bike. Yeah. So I've made it into a pretty neat pit bike at this point, and it's her bike. So we'll have to go on a ride soon.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a good run so far. We're definitely the youngest in the neighborhood by a long shot. We live in like pretty much a retirement community. So it's Cali Dan and I, and there's Danny down the road and Joey, and that's
well, we kind of hit the lottery, move just randomly by chance moving in next to you guys.
Right.
We didn't know what we were getting. We kind of got we had a weird situation where we cashed in all of our chips in the Bay Area in California with the intention of moving out here. We were committed. We sold our house, and we found out my wife was pregnant, and she made the career jump out here and got herself committed to a hospital out here. She's a cardiac sonographer. And I was still working for my agency in the Bay Area, and it's not exactly the easiest thing just to make a lateral move. There's a lot of moving parts to it. So we had committed ourselves. She moved out here with her cousin and I call him my brother-in-law, and started her new career here while I was still living in the Bay Area. And long story short, we had a house that we had picked out that we bailed out of escrow on the last day because there was a catastrophic issue with the well. And big problem was going to be about another $150,000 on top of the purchase of the house because of the catastrophic issue. So yeah, it's a no-go. So we were homeless, pregnant, and living 300 miles apart. So we're like, we got to do something now. And we drove up to the community that we're in now. And we put money down on, we committed ourselves to one of the last lots that was available. It just happened to be next door to these guys. So that was a godsend.
Wow.
Yep. So everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not till the very last minute the light from heaven shines down on it, and you're like, oh, I guess that's what we're doing.
The worst part is now we got 2 white chicks that just hang out all the time, and we pretty much get told what we're doing every weekend because they make plans without us knowing.
Yep. Get
Yeah.
your chores done, and we're doing whatever they want to do. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we have a good time.
So growing up in the Bay Area,
Mm-hmm.
30 years is a long time of
Mhm.
the same thing that you get used to. Like, what sticks out now, even 3 years later here? Like, what was what was your culture shock?
Well, so the it's kind of a well anybody that you know that you might talk to that is a refugee, if you will, from California, Washington, Oregon, that's moved out of state, Nevada, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, anywhere to flee what's going on the West Coast, will tell you that it's really unfortunate because that's a beautiful, if not the most beautiful part of the country to live in.
Agreed. Yeah, California's fucking amazing.
There's so many good things about living in that area, and it's just kind of a deplorable situation what's happened out there that's caused so many people that love that area to wanna, for lack of a better way to put it, flee. We love the Bay Area. We lived in one of the last quiet, if you will, footholds in the Bay Area. It was the North Bay, Petaluma, and still have a lot of friends and some family that live out there, and we enjoy going back there, to visit briefly, but we can't spend more than a day or two out there before wanting to come back home now. And it's just too many people, politics, infrastructure, just poor management that drove us away, tends to drive most people away. We couldn't be happier being here. And it is unfortunate because if things were different, aside from the fact that cost of living's up and all the things, we would probably still be there happy, but unfortunately that's just not the way it is. And we had to make a conscious plan for our future and our family and how we wanted to raise our family with our views, to go somewhere where we had like-minded people.
And on that cost of living thing, cost of living's up huge for us here, but compared to the Bay Area, it's not even fucking remotely close.
It's not even, you can't even touch it.
Yeah.
So granted, you might get a little, you might get paid substantially more in California or the Bay Area, but the cost of living is so high and housing is so high, whether you're renting or paying a mortgage, that you're just tight.
Right.
There is no meat on the bone. There is no, for most people, you're so tight that you don't get to enjoy life as we do out here.
California pushed you out. It wasn't like, hey, let's try Nevada. California pushed you out.
Yeah. Unfortunately, so the thing about Nevada is we have family here. We had been coming to visit for about 5 years before we committed ourselves to that move. So we were familiar with the area. We knew that we like we just discussed. I grew up riding a lot of motocross. There's nothing but BLM out here.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to do but ride and adventure and go do whatever the hell it is you want to do whenever you want to do it out here. So it's perfect for me. And my wife's from a one-horse town in Central California, so she grew up doing the same thing. She's not from the Bay Area, so when she moved out there, it was a culture shock for her. So this is just it just worked out for the both of us. It was just the right move.
Right.
And we didn't, to be completely honest, when we got married and knew that we were going to be starting our small family and knew that we were going to have kids, that's not an area where we wanted to raise our kids with everything that was going on in the public school system and local government and just everything that was going on that inevitably your young kids are going to be exposed to, and you have very little
to no control.
You have no control.
Yeah.
You have no control. And when you are, you're more or less a slave to the grind, and mom's got to go to work, dad's got to go to work because you have your mortgage, you have your bills to pay, you got everything to do. You have less time to be able to monitor, not that you don't want it, but you have less time and energy to be able to monitor, exactly, what your kids being, what's the curriculum, who's teaching your kids, and what they're being influenced by. So this is a better pace, a slower pace, if you will. It gives us the time and energy to be able to look up after those things. So big deal for us.
No, that's a big move.
Yeah, and a lot of people are doing it. I've got buddies that I worked with that ended up in Idaho. Most of them in Idaho that are doing the same thing for like-minded reasons, the same reasons.
Yeah,
So.
you would think that admin in California would realize at some point that you're pushing out the tax base.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything funded by the government is funded by the taxpayer first. And when those guys leave, the homeless people don't pay taxes.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if maybe we should send a memo.
Right.
Hey Gavin, like, the homeless don't pay taxes. So
Right.
Well, he's got the memo. I mean, he's been up for recall several times, and somehow he keeps, squeaking by that one. But it's an abundantly obvious situation that's going on out there, and whether he, I don't think you can plead ignorance to the fact of what's going on.
No,
out there.
he has to know
Yeah,
something's up.
Absolutely, but they just it keeps it's an ongoing issue. It ain't getting better.
No, it's not.
It's not getting better.
Not getting better.
So
Alex just got back from a trip. I heard about when did you get back? About a week ago?
Yeah, last Thursday. Wednesday.
And where'd you go?
We went to Europe. So we did Greece, Monaco, France, Italy.
And tell me what you noticed about Italy, because I've never been to Italy.
At least from my experience, Italy was super fun, but it was it was like being in downtown San Francisco. Like it was a shithole. There's bums everywhere, shit on the streets everywhere. It was interesting, that's for sure. I mean, it was beautiful at the same time. I'm definitely glad that we went, but it was eye opening for sure.
I would have never guessed.
Yeah. Me neither. I thought even going there with like my wife, I was like, this is gonna be the coolest thing ever. It's gonna be fucking. It's like you're expecting what you see on TV, like these things, and I'm sure that stuff is still there too. And we had it was like being in a big city though. Like if you go to the right places, it's nice. If you don't, it was a shithole. Mm-hmm. Greece was super cool. That place I'll definitely go back to. It was really nice. People were wonderful. It was relatively cheap for being on vacation. Food was amazing. But yeah, Italy, I was a little bit disappointed in, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it bums me out. It's on my bucket list.
Yeah, you still got to go.
I've never been. I want to go, and you're like, oh man, it's like a homeless camp.
It was.
Well, not only that, but I was hoping he was going to come back with food stories of Italy.
Yeah,
what did you eat? When I think Italy, I think
I thought pizza, pasta, all these things. Also, it's a little bit of my ignorance too, because a lot of their pastas apparently a thing called al dente. And it's not cooked all the way. And so I didn't know that was a thing.
Cook my food.
Yeah. So the first pasta dish I got, Haley's like, how is it? And I was like, it fucking sucks. I was like, they didn't cook the noodles all the way. Yeah. And she's like, you ordered it al dente. I was like, I don't know what that means. And she's like, the pasta's like not cooked all the way through in the center. I was like, that's dumb because it needs to be cooked. I was like, I was getting ready to send that shit back. But no, once I found out that you got to read that part of it. Because reading's not my strong suit, so I started reading some more, and then made sure not to order that. But the pizza is good; it's just different. It's not like our pizza. I think American pizza is better, but it's probably just me. But yeah, it's just it's a totally different situation over there. The pizza was more of like a flatbread that you have to eat with like a fork and knife. You didn't when we first got there. Everybody's eating pizza on the street, and stuff, and everybody's using like a fork and a knife to eat pizza. I was like, what the fuck are these people doing? Like, you don't eat pizza with a fork, man. You pick that shit up. And then I got a pizza and it like falls apart. You can't pick it up. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm just an asshole.
Can I have a fork?
Yeah, and a knife? Exactly. Yeah. You guys got any silverware? I'm just a jackass. So, But yeah, it was cool. I'm glad we went for sure. We were gone for a long time. It was hard to be gone from my kids that long. That's the longest we've been gone from them for sure. We like to travel with them and stuff, but with the cost of everything to get him over there, and it was Haley and I's 10-year wedding anniversary, so we took just a mom and dad trip. It was a good time.
Was that the farthest you've been from home?
Absolutely, yeah. Like we've been to Mexico, I've been Canada, shit like that, but that's the farthest I've ever been. First time in Europe.
What about you, Dan? How far have you been from home?
I think Mexico is about as far. You know what? I take that back. No, I've been to the Caribbean. Did a cruise in the Caribbean a few years back. Wasn't all that blown away by it. I actually prefer Mexico. I'm not really a big cruise guy. Spent a lot of time on the boat. It's it's touristy. I like to break away from the touristy trap stuff and you're eating the same food and drinking shitty drinks and seeing the same people for a week. I like to, we just went on a trip to Mexico together with a small group of friends to Cabo.
Cabo, yeah.
A few months back, and
took the fishing trip of a lifetime on a fucking 12-foot
badass.
boat.
I don't think any of us. I can't. You been to Cancun prior to that?
No.
Yeah,
that was first time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was our first time as a group going to Cancun, and it was just badass. It was very laid back, quiet, low key. I mean, granted, we did stay at a straight up party resort.
Yeah.
But we were shutting her down every night.
Yeah, the white bitches had a good time. That's for sure.
we all had a really good time. But in my opinion, that was better than being on a cruise ship and going from port to port and spending 4, 5, 6 hours in a port before you got to jump back on the.
Absolutely, I agree with that for sure.
On the water bus and go to the next spot.
I'm fucking outnumbered again.
Yeah,
you're a cruise guy?
No, I'm not a cruise guy.
It's a go-to vacation if you want to eat, drink,
Sure.
see the ocean.
Not saying it's not fun.
Maybe a couple cool stops.
Fucking nerd.
But it's easy. I don't have to worry about like dinner. I don't have to worry about coffee in my room. I don't have to make the bed. My wife has to she doesn't have to worry about anything either.
Yeah.
The nice thing I like about cruises, like especially because part of our Europe trip was on a cruise, it is nice to be able to see a lot of things and then decide, hey, do I like this? Do I want to go back there? It's an easy way to see a lot of things.
Right.
I like that part of it. And I agree with you on the food situation on the cruise, getting all this different food. The food on our cruise was trash. Is the worst. I've been on a bunch of cruises. Worst food I've ever had on a cruise.
Who's the cruise line?
It was Norwegian. And I was actually looking really forward to it. And not only that, we missed 3 of our ports. And that's what, So
that happens.
Yeah. It was a fucking, the cruise portion of it was probably my least favorite. And like I said, I've been on a bunch of cruises and I'm not against cruises. I like them, but the cruise portion of our journey was probably my least favorite on this one.
I got a weird thing about being out at sea too. I don't really
not
like
a big swimmer.
The ocean.
Oh, you want to see land?
Yeah,
I'm
not.
Can't see land, you get nervous.
You don't hear a whole lot of crazy horror stories about cruise ships going down or anything, or catastrophic issues. A couple of years ago, there was a couple catastrophic.
That Costa Concordia or whatever.
Where they're mooring around in a bay because they can't dock because COVID, with whatever this and that. I just don't like. I think I'd rather be lost in space than lost at sea. Personally, I just don't like the idea of. I don't like the damn ocean. I'd rather be on land.
Yeah.
So that's just a me thing. But no, we had a great time.
Yeah, Cabo was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you. I'm cruised out at the moment from all the places that we've been. It's usually Mexico or Gulf of Mexico. I'm cruised out seeing that stuff. And maybe I'm Mexicoed out. You
might be.
We've been so many times for Baja 1000, and my wife just did a cruise last week, and she's like, "Oh, we're in Ensenada." I'm like, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah,
that's a stop, but
yeah. Well, it sounds badass, and you don't really think about it because when most people go on vacation, they want to get out of the country, go do something. His parents just went and did a riverboat cruise from on the Mississippi
up the Mississippi and then on another river. I don't know the rivers on the East Coast, but they end up in Nashville somehow.
Riverboat cruise.
Yeah, riverboat
cruise. That sounds like a party.
That sounds badass.
It's definitely they were doing old people shit, but it's like everybody's in bed by 8, but they party hard. It sounds good to me, dude. I'll be in bed by 8. I'm fine with that.
Riverboat gambling.
Yeah,
drinking.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. So this is the second one they done. They did one last year too. I think the one they did last year was just up the Mississippi. They went to different places, but this one, like I said, I don't know the rivers over there. So at some point they turned.
And now everything's familiar because you're still in the United States.
Right. That was one nice thing about Europe though, is everywhere we went, they spoke English. Super easy to get around. Street signs are in English, all that shit. Like you could drive down the highway and find your way because everything was in English. So it wasn't too bad. But there is something to be said about being home, being able to do stuff, know that you're not getting lied to and stuff like that. Where am I going?
Taking advantage of.
Yeah, the taxi cabs is driving in circles.
Running the meter up.
Yeah, but the nice thing is like they had Uber over there too. So if you Uber, you know your price already and everything, just like Uber here. So it wasn't too bad. The bird scooters on cobblestone was a little sketchy. So yeah, when you're drunk, yeah. Haley's allowed 2 beers and then she's not allowed to bird by herself. She has to ride on my bird. Yeah. So 2 people on one bird scooter on cobblestone was interesting.
They don't have suspension, do they?
None. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. None at all.
And she's already pretty haphazard, so.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's danger to herself already, so.
Hammer, you're too quiet over there.
I'm just listening to you guys talking about your vacation.
You just came off vacation too, motherfucker.
Yeah, where's your where yeah, tell us about your
where'd you and that big dick go?
We just went to
that big dick.
just an all-inclusive down in Cancun, and it was actually great.
Was it?
Yeah. I wasn't going to travel. It was for a vacation, so that's exactly what I wanted.
Right.
There's, and a lot of, I definitely like to go out and sightsee and different things like that, but it was nice to just sit back and chill for a while.
Hell yeah. You guys had like the swim up room and everything, didn't you?
Yeah.
How was that?
Ocean view, swim out room. Yeah, it was awesome because, the other pools are closed down and we could still go out and screw around for a while.
Hell yeah.
Food was great. People were great. Couldn't ask for better.
You signed up.
Yeah, the old wife signed up for it.
They got you, huh?
Yeah.
Got you with that timeshare, dude.
That's right.
Yeah.
not a timeshare, but we're guaranteed vacation for 2 weeks a year, basically.
Right. Well, they got me when we went to when we got to Cabo. We get off the plane. It was my first time in Cabo. We get off the plane, get to go through the airport, and as soon as you get down to the bottom, they're like, this guy comes up to you and asks you, he's like, "Hey, where you staying?" So we tell him, he's like, "Oh yeah, this is your shuttle, whatever." Then he brings you to this like side thing, and he starts selling you shit, dude. What we bought a fucking fishing trip.
I was like, we're not even out of the fucking airport, guys.
We got a sunset cruise, fucking fishing trip, and then we ended up having to go to this timeshare spot.
Yeah.
And we got free breakfast though.
And beer.
And beer. Yeah, the timeshares are cool. We didn't end up buying one. At the end, the guy was super pissed at us because he thought for sure we were gonna buy this. He's like, it's not a big deal. He's like, today you just have to come up with $30,000.
Oh, that's it?
And Cali Dan, I look at each other, we're like, you got the wrong motherfuckers. I was like, we got like $300 between the two of us right now.
Thanks for the beer.
Yeah, thanks for the beer, dude. So we left, and then the fishing boat we went on was the sketchiest thing ever. But it was like, we told the dude, we're like, we need to be able to see land because we at least have to swim back if this fucking thing dies. Like, but we caught a bunch of fish. We had a good time. They cooked it up for us and stuff.
A bunch of
tuna. Raul somehow fucking hooked a swordfish in its side and got it all the way to the boat, and then it swam off. But,
yeah, he was fighting it like he had a Volkswagen on the end of it.
Yeah.
Came back, it was as big as this chopping block.
Yeah. It was a good time though. Then at the end of it, Raul tries to tip the dude fucking 4 pesos. The guy wouldn't even take the money.
What a scumbag.
He's like, you need it.
I was embarrassed.
You need it more than me, gringo.
Yeah, that's exactly what
bullshit.
the dude thought, dude. Raul's like, hey, bro, thanks for the ride. Hands him fucking 4 pesos.
He didn't even take it from him.
No,
He's like, keep that shit
out of here. Yeah.
Fucking dirtbag.
So let's get into your work. What do you do?
I'm a cop. Been in law enforcement for 8 years. Started my career in San Mateo County in the Bay Area. I lived in the North Bay, commuted to the South Bay, about a 45-minute commute. It's pretty wild out there. Being a new cop in a major metro area like that, got a lot of really good experience really quick. And then after everything that we just discussed as to why my wife and I ended up leaving California, we came out here to Nevada, and I've been with my current department for coming up on 3 years. So good times. Yeah. It's, albeit I'm not even 10 years in, I've worked some pretty amazing cases, and you make some pretty amazing friends and do some pretty serious networking as far as working with other agencies and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been pretty wild.
Was moving up here and changing departments what you thought it was going to be, or no?
No. Working for the agency that I started out with, like I said, it was a major metro area immediately south of San Francisco. We dealt with a lot of crazy stuff, just everything and anything under the sun. You never knew what you were going to get, and it was very fast-paced, long hours, high adrenaline, just go, as we say, running and gunning, if you will. Constantly. And when my wife and I decided to move out here, my wife was actually really excited because she thought we were moving to Mayberry. It was going to be
you guys are going to help milkmen cross the street.
I was going to sail off into the sunset, It's not the case. Very busy out here, which I like because I like to think that I'm still relatively young. Having a good time. It is still very busy. Managing a pretty crazy caseload and training new officers. So very rewarding, very stressful. It's one of those occupations where you seen those stickers. What is it? Nobody cares. Work harder.
Yeah.
True story. That is the mantra. Nobody cares. Work harder. Get your shit done. Don't break the law and stay within department policy. And there's just a lot of moving parts, a lot of key facets, specifically acting with, in accordance of law and department policy so that you don't end up in a civil or criminal lawsuit. When I'm training my trainees, I liken our occupation to it being a game, albeit a very serious game, and you have to play by the rules because the rules are very serious. And if you break the rules, very serious ramifications. So play the game by the rules, and you shouldn't run into any serious issues. Unfortunately, it's one of those jobs where if you're doing your job right, you're going to get complaints. You're going to get in trouble at some point. You're going to have to make split-second decisions that are going to inevitably end you up in the hot seat at some point. And you need to be able to think on the fly, and you better have sound decision-making. And, you better, make sure that you're in accordance with the law and your department policy, or you're going to get hammered. So, a lot of stuff. It's one of those things where, as just like any other job, any other, game, hobby, whatever it is that you're into, the more that you do something, the more comfortable you are doing it, and the better you do it. So it's just a time thing. It's one of those things that you have to do it. You have to fuck it up several times to get it right. So unfortunately, we see a lot of people that actually that appear to have the ability to do the job, and they either undermine their own ability, or they just second guess themselves, and they don't think that this is necessarily for them, and they quit early, when they should have maybe given themselves more time to really figure shit out and take off running. But it's not for everybody, so more power to them, I guess, for making that realization and changing earlier. But
most of us have like a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other shoulder. I think that Drew has his dick on one shoulder.
That's just how he carries it around. He just fucking throws it over.
But you have your boss on one shoulder and you have an attorney on the other shoulder. You got to run it by the attorney first. What's my least legal exposure, and I have to make that decision now. What do you think?
While trying to keep the public safe at the same time.
My boss wants to bust the bad guy, but the bad guy's probably going to sue me.
Yeah, well, so there's okay, so it's a tough one because from a cultural standpoint, the occupation has changed so much. About I would say every decade, going back to the inception of law enforcement, if you will.
Right.
But it's becoming, it's changing. It's changing at such a rapid pace now. It's more like every 5 years there's a paradigm shift in how we're expected to handle certain calls for service.
Interact with the public.
Interact with the public, and just with everything that's going on. Everything is so volatile right now that liability, specifically vicarious liability, specifically the liability that your department is going to accrue based on your actions, has been fallen under such a tight microscope, and we don't have a whole lot of discretion to make certain calls anymore. I mean, yes, we do have to make split-second decisions when dealing with a certain situation, but the law, the NRS, and our department policy are written as such where, you know, we have to have a clear understanding of our legal authority and what we're allowed to do as far as what our department will allow us to do. Because if we're outside of those parameters, we are liable
right
for the decisions that we make. And here's the deal. I got to put food on my table. I got to keep my lights on and my water flowing. I have a mortgage to pay. Is I have to be constantly, and I train my trainees, what's the risk versus the reward of what it is the pile of shit you're about to step in.
Right.
Are you willing to lose your house? Are you willing to end up in prison? Are you willing to lose your family? That's the seriousness of what it is that we're dealing with on a daily basis now, because of the scrutiny that we're under constantly. So it's not like it was maybe when I started in my occupation 8 years ago, albeit that's not even really a long time in the grand scheme. Things have changed so much. When I started with my agency in the Bay Area, we didn't have body cameras, for example. We were one of the last agencies in California to have body cameras. And it's not that our agency didn't want us to have body cameras, is that they were culturally, they weren't quite there yet. Since I've left, they got body cameras. There was a big stigma about body worn cameras for the longest time, about them capturing things that we didn't want them to see, about how it is things we had to do to affect our job efficiently and effectively.
Right. Things aren't always pretty.
Things aren't always pretty.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, if you're doing the job in accordance with the law and per your department policy, and you are courteous and kind, and you are doing the job the way that you're supposed to be doing, as we all took an oath to uphold and perform in such a way, you shouldn't have any. You can still motherfuck people, and you can still ask people up when necessary within your legal authority, and you can still affect your job effectively and still be within policy. And the camera is actually there to defend you in court, to show, things that
he came at me first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Things that you wouldn't otherwise be able to make a determination of if it hadn't been recorded.
So you think cameras are a good thing?
I do. When you've been doing the job long enough, and you know that you at some point, most officers, but good cops, they develop the ability to open dialogue and build rapport with people. And when you have a strong understanding of your legal authority to act on any certain situation, and you know that you're in the right, it's doing nothing but protecting you.
It's like a dash cam. Like the dude ran the red light and crashed into me. I'm a good driver. I've explained to insurance companies several times, like, this is what happened.
Yeah. I
had no evidence. I got to pay.
Right.
Like, oh man, every time it's like a fender bender, and
yeah.
I'm pissed. And I don't want to put a dash cam in because
it's more shit to pay for.
It's more shit to pay for, and then like, that's not situational anymore.
Right.
I would like it if it's situational, but it's the same as the body camera for an officer. If you're gonna have a camera, you got to have it on all the time. And now, for me as a driver cam, now I'm gonna be accountable to myself. I can't do any dumb shit driving down the road in the BMW.
Right.
Well, that makes a perfectly good, valid point. We have those cameras there to protect ourselves, but in doing this job, I mean, it takes a toll on you emotionally, physiologically, physically. It does a lot to you. And unfortunately, we have to come up with, well, inevitably, they just naturally happen. You come up with coping mechanisms to deal with this shit.
Right.
So when we're dealing with either a critical incident or a semi-critical incident that is taking that emotional toll on you, sometimes we default to making, certain comments, certain body language, saying certain things that we normally, wouldn't say, to one another. If I was my partner and I say, oh, this guy's really fucked up, or
Right.
oh, this bitch is fucking crazy, or blah, 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 this, and that, and the other. You got to watch that because making a seemingly innocent statement like that to my partner away from victim or subject or suspect or whoever it is that we're dealing with could potentially be construed in court as,
you have a prejudice.
You have a prejudice. You know what I mean? And it's a game, a very serious game, and you gotta know the game and play the rules. Play by the rules. So,
I like that description.
That's the way I like to think of it. I know some people might not agree with me, but for me, that's what it is. It's a very serious game with very serious rules, and you fuck the rules up, you're gonna get hammered. So,
right. What made you want to get into it?
Funny story. So, throughout high school and years following high school, I was in and out of a close family friend's machine shop. I love doing metal fab work.
Right.
I did a lot of, I was in production for this machine company. This machine company built very heavy door machinery equipment for distribution centers to pump out thousands of doors a day, and they'd ship their machinery all over the world. But they built everything in house. Yeah, they had some stuff farmed in, hydraulics, electrical components, and stuff like that. But we did all the metal fab and construction in house. For a while, I machined small parts, and I got into sheet metal.
Oh, okay.
Bending and forming and stretching, shrinking sheet metal. So that was something that I really took after because I was doing cars and playing with cars and all that kind of shit. Had a dozen different jobs within this machine shop for years, and that's what I loved. Because it was a close family friend.
Right.
Me and him were always smoking or taking off to go smoke weed and shit. Right. We were in high school and all kinds of fun stuff. So there was a few times where his old man, still a good friend of mine to this day, he's like, Dan, can't be smoking weed on lunch break. You're fucking fired. You know what I mean? This happened a few times. So over the course of 10 years, I probably got shit canned like 3 times, but always found my way back. But I ended up intermittently between one of those gigs. I ended up at Kaiser Hospital in California, and I was between a pharmacy job and shuffling medical equipment around. And I remember I was working in the pharmacy one night, and I had gotten my EMT and went through EMT academy with the intention of maybe becoming a paramedic or doing something within the hospital.
Right.
Because it wasn't exactly easy to get a job with Kaiser at the time. But I'm working the pharmacy one night, and I'm like, this fucking sucks. This is not what I want to do. My dad's a pharmacist. My stepmom's a pharmacist. I was like, I'm not fucking doing this. And a buddy of mine that I went to high school with happened to come in one night, and his back was all fucked up. And he was he worked for Safeway for years, so I thought he was still at Safeway and fucked his back up. I was like, what's going on, man? And I was like, what are you doing? Is Safeway taking care of you? How's everything going? He was like, no, I quit that shit years ago. I'm a deputy with San Francisco County, and it fucking blew me away because we used to party hard and got into all kinds of trouble and shit together in high school and had a good time. I was like, how the fuck did you become a deputy? All the shit that I know about you. And he made at some point in his life, he had that paradigm shift and changed his ways and, went on to do different things. And he landed a job as a deputy with San Francisco County. And I had a fucking light bulb moment. I was like, he was kind of telling me about some of the stuff he gets himself into. I was like, that's what I need to do. I need that higher octane. I need to be running around.
Need to be doing something.
I need to be doing something. So almost immediately I looked into academy, and I started applying with a few agencies, and it was a weird time. That was 2013 when not every department was hiring heavy. Actually, nobody was really hiring. Everybody was
not like they are
kind of
now,
at capacity. Yeah. So it was one of those things where I put myself through academy as a free agent, if you will, where I, put myself through, I quit my job, I saved my money, all this shit. And when I got out, I couldn't get a job. I interviewed with 20 different agencies, and it took me 3 years of persistence and working another job while interviewing to finally land my job in San Mateo County. And it was just one of those things where I didn't know that I wanted to be a cop.
Right.
And as I was, between academy life and that 3 years that it took me to get my job of just, my wife lived it with me. She knew that I was in turmoil,
right?
Emotional turmoil. I was like, what the fuck, dude? I cashed in all my chips to do this and I can't do it. It worked out. And it was the best thing that I ever did for myself and my family. I didn't know that I wanted to do it.
Right.
Until, I kind of had that light bulb moment, and then I got off and running. And it was one of those things that it was so difficult. The field training program is so difficult. It's designed to elicit stress and just paramilitaristic in the sense that it's designed to break you down to a certain point.
Right.
And rebuild you from there, kind of thing. At least that's how the program was where I was at. And it was trying. There was days when I was driving home like, I don't know if I can do this shit.
Right.
And I made it, and here I am 8 years later. So.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good story though. Yeah.
You want to do it.
Yeah.
You didn't know until you got to do it.
No, and fuck. There's days where I'm like, shit, do I want to do this shit? Yeah. But no, it is very rewarding.
You know what's surprising to me is that you don't know me.
Yeah, well, I might. I don't know.
You don't know me.
I might know you.
Like we have a fucking machine shop.
Yeah.
Oh.
We build engines.
I got parts for you.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of light fab. We don't do a whole lot of sheet metal, but like, how's it? Because you don't hear people tell you a story someday, whatever, how the story came about. I went to a machine shop because now. You can ask any 14-year-old at any high school in Nevada and ask them what a machine shop is.
Not one's gonna fucking know.
No one knows.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. No one knows what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to build that engine for the Dart, dude.
Yeah, well, so the Dart, it had a 318. I still have the block. I ripped that whole damn thing apart. I tubbed it, subframe connectors, front to rear. I did a lot of shit. I did a lot of body work, new rear quarters, all kinds of shit. I want to do a stroker motor in it, so I kind of just have that 318 block sitting there. It's actually a clean little block. It's a high revving 318.
Old 318.
Yeah.
We could LS swap it.
We could do all. You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Chevy man.
Yeah, you fucking nerd.
Yeah.
I never hear of like Ford modular 5.4 swaps.
Right.
I don't know why that is.
I mean, Hellcat would be all right.
Yeah, Hellcat would be badass. Yeah. It's my wife's car. I want to build it for her. She still loves it, but I mean, she's kind of at a point where she's like, you got to fucking do something with it.
This
and
all
how
started
dare
as an
you talk
electrical
shit about
problem,
a Triton V8, Herbert?
Triton V8?
Yeah.
No one swaps that either, Alex.
Right. I know. It made 300 horsepower.
Same with the Triton V10.
Yeah.
Like, they only swap that into motorhomes.
Yeah. Don't you talk shit about my Mini Winnie, Kate? It gets 6 miles a gallon.
Yeah. Yeah. Got projects. Got a lot of projects.
What are your hobbies besides dirt bikes? You got to be a gunny. Like what's your safe queen?
I like guns. So my safe queen right now is actually a pistol. Believe it or not, it's a So my brother-in-law, that I mentioned earlier briefly, we went out shooting out here a couple years ago, one of the salt flats, and he pulled out it's a circa late 80s CZ PO1, not the SPO1, but the PO1.
Is that a target
to
pistol?
9mm. It was actually in Czech. It's their department issue.
Service weapon.
And I had never even seen the damn thing. I'd only heard of CZ. I'd never shot one before. And he'd had it for years, but I picked that thing up, and it was the most user-friendly, ergonomically correct, well-balanced pistol I'd ever shot. I mean, even for somebody who's an inexperienced shooter could pick this thing up and could fucking plink the nuts off a squirrel at fucking 25 yards with this fucking thing. Beautiful. So I picked one up, a new one. I don't know what fucking year it is, but it's I don't know. Within the last couple of years, it was released. It's the CZ SPO1.
Okay.
And built off the same frame, same model more or less, and just fucking a nice pistol. I I would liken it to it versus a Glock would be like a Rolex versus a fucking Casio.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah, really nice. It's a really nice pistol.
They build a phenomenal target line of pistols.
It's a beautiful fucking gun. I actually might start carrying it on duty.
Really?
Yeah.
I've shot a few. They shoot nice.
Yeah. I would be carrying it on duty right now, but there's not a whole lot in the way of duty holsters for it.
Right.
There's a couple. There's a couple, and they would the one that would actually fit for our department policy looks like a fucking RoboCop fucking holster. It's ridiculous. I couldn't.
It's all Tupperware.
Yeah,
like a combination lock, a fingerprint.
It's dumb. Yeah. So, no. But I love guns. I have several guns. Over the years, I used to be a collector per se. I had a safe full of fucking guns. I sold a few of them off. I'm at a point now where it's like, if you have a gun, if you buy a gun, just keep the fucking gun. Don't sell it, because they're kind of worth their weight in gold with the way that fucking things are going with, from
administration issues.
There's a ton of stuff that's changed about guns.
There's so much. Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like, if you have something that you like and you sell it, if the roster comes out next year and fucking something's changed and you can't get it back, like, just fucking keep it if you got it. Because you might not be able to get it back. And my thing now is instead of having a safe full of fucking guns chambered in different, calibers and all kinds of shit, I'm the guy who likes to have, I don't know, maybe
2 calibers, 3 calibers.
Yeah. And I like to have like two tactical style rifles, a hunting rifle, a shotgun, and a few pistols. And a lot of collectors, they have a mass array of firearms, rightfully so. It's your right to fucking have whatever the fuck you want. All good. And that's what we do as collectors and hobbyists, is collect shit. But what I see when I go shooting with people is a lack of proficiency in any one firearm.
He's talking about me.
Yeah, well, no, we've only been shooting a couple times. It's actually really difficult for me to go shooting with people.
I can see that.
It's tough with so many years of training and experience. And I gotta say, with the agency that I'm with right now, they do a stellar job with our tactical training and our firearms training and instruction. They beat the shit out of us, and it's fucking great. I love it. And I would implore anybody who is lacking in their training to get themselves a training lesson where you go to fucking gun sight or something out in, like, what is it, Arizona or New Mexico, whatever the fuck it is. Go somewhere.
That's Front Sight. That's in
whatever it is.
Southern Nevada.
Yeah, go somewhere.
It's a great place. We all pumped some money into that deal. It folded up like a cheap lawn chair.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's under new ownership now, but there's a bunch of bankruptcy, fraud, money fraud, laundering, racketeering.
Well, find a good one.
Yeah,
find a reputable outfit and go get some training.
That being said, we went to we did 3 different classes. We did tactical handgun. My wife did tactical handgun. We did then the AR platform or tactical rifle. Some knucklehead friends of mine did tactical shotgun. I opted out because I didn't want to shoot like 250 slugs a day.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like great on your shoulder.
That was a rough one. I'm glad I opted out. But we got a ton of good training because who they hired as instructors were current law enforcement, ex-law enforcement, ex-military. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But that's a perishable skill. You gotta shoot all the time.
100%. And it's not just shooting all the time. It's shooting with purpose all the time, because
you have to have the same rules.
Yeah, you got to follow the rules, and you have to have, there's a lot of different disciplines in shooting, from posture to your draw and reloads and movement. There's a lot of stuff that's overlooked when you go out and you just go target shooting or plinking. You're not getting anything out of it. All you're doing is fucking wasting money. So I'm one of those guys where if I'm going to go out and shoot, I like to train, set up some barrels, do some movement. My thing about my firearms is you talk about Safe Queen. Well, Safe Queen to me is something that you're fucking, it's your baby. But that's that gun that you don't want to fucking throw in the dirt kind of thing. All my guns go in the fucking dirt, because it's got to be reliable. It's got to be a fucking something that it's a tool. and it needs to work for you when you need it to fucking work. And if it's a Safe Queen that's fucking cleaned and lubed and nice, it doesn't have that grit and that grime and hasn't been fucking wrenched and racked on in the dirt and the shit. It might fail on you when shit hits the fan. So that's my take on my firearms and how I like to train and stuff like that. But it can be tough for me to go shoot sometimes with people just from a safety standpoint.
Totally.
Shit, we went shooting. Were you with us? I'm not gonna drop any names, but we went a couple weeks ago.
No, I wasn't there.
We went shooting a couple weeks ago out behind the house, and we were with a friend of ours, and it got to the point where I was like, I gotta go, dude. I gotta go.
I'm out.
Yeah,
you're waving that shit around.
Well, and just trigger discipline and fucking muzzle discipline and all the things. I'm like, I don't want to make things awkward. I think I'm just gonna go now, kind of situation. So, but yeah, everybody should train. If you're gonna be shooting firearms, everybody should go out and get some kind of training and keep fucking training. And if you're gonna do anything, do it right. If you're gonna spend the time and the money, do it right.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming up on time right now, but we gotta talk before we get out of here. We gotta talk Eric into getting on that tee, dude.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Outnumbered again.
Yeah.
Like everyone's like, oh, you got to get on the goddamn testosterone.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
We're partying.
Yeah.
I should. You're right.
Yeah. You need to go get your levels checked. Get on that TRT.
No, I don't. See, you were talking 400s.
Yeah.
I swear, my last test was 330, and my doctor did not have an issue with it.
Yeah, well, your doctor's not trying to lay pipe either for you.
True story.
No, yeah. No, like the average 21-year-old right now has the same testosterone that a 60-year-old did in 2000. Like they're plummeting. Yeah. The T's plummeting.
Right.
Well, it's a lot of things. It's diet, it's physical activity,
stress.
Yeah,
stress is a big one.
I got a shit ton of stress. Is
right.
testosterone going to help that?
Fuck yeah, it will.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll report back in.
Okay.
Drew and I will go down to the what is it, Men's Health Magazine Depot, and we'll check in. We'll get admitted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll ask for a bigger dick. He'll ask for a smaller dick.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe they can lop a couple inches off that fucker.
We'll both need tea. When he parked his truck in the driveway today, I was like, I wonder why he didn't pull all the way in.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing because then I had to park in the fucking road.
Yeah.
I'm like, now he's not used to pulling all the way in.
No, he can't. It doesn't fit anywhere. There's not garage space for that fucker.
No, like downtown, the casino parking garage where you can wrap it around the corner.
That's right. Yeah. I always figure if I bring my service truck somewhere, at least Drew can park his dick. That's it. And we'll have room for it.
There you go. You got a crane on that thing, right?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Right on. Well, appreciate you guys tuning in for Torque and Horsepower. Thank you, Cali Dan, for coming out.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Right on.
It was a great show.